Hi there, and welcome back to the Rangers News YouTube channel with Jordan and Cammy.
How you doing?
And not too bad, thanks. And in a lead up, we're in between games for this video, so we're recording this obviously on the Monday, as I'm sure a lot of you know. But we're just going to have a look at recent form and players who have really not stepped up, and other players who are maybe underperforming but are worth keeping. So when we come to the summer, I think Gerard said that, or it was Kenny Miller actually, that came out recently as a pundit and said that he thinks Rangers are only 3 or 4 players away from a title challenging team. But a lot of the sort of sentiment on social media has been this needs a drastic overhaul, and major changes need to be made both in and out. So, what's our take on this? How do you feel about that?
I don't think it needs a drastic overhaul, but I do think that it needs an overhaul. You know what I mean? It depends what you mean by overhaul, how many numbers in and out. But I think there are players in that Rangers team that are clearly not fancied, and there are players picking up wages and that aren't performing, and there are players that have value that we might be better off cashing in on now. I do think that's a good point from Kenny Miller. I do think that if Rangers get 3 or 4 quality options, I know it's easier said than done, but if with experience who are leaders and who are winners, then absolutely. I mean, I think that's what we've been lacking in the second half of the season, but there are numerous players that I think we will cut our losses with, and if we don't, I think that we're making a mistake. I think if we start it from the back, obviously the loanees, like Ojo, is going to go back, but then you've got people like Brandon Barker, who I think which heavily linked with a move away in January. Jordan Jones, again, another player who doesn't play.
Greg Stewart,
yeah. Matt Polster. But I mean, these guys, it's not these guys' faults about the form because they haven't been given an opportunity.
To a certain extent, I think probably, say, Jordan Jones and Matt Polster, guys have not played really at all. Brandon Barker hasn't played that many. I think he's only played 11, 12 times.
Played both games against Porto. Yeah.
Most of those have been off the bench, so can you say he's had enough opportunity, but also, has he shown anything really?
He scored against Livingston, I remember that. That was a good goal.
Yeah, it was a good goal, and everyone was quite excited about it. And then the game against Porto at Ibrox, it did look like it was too much for him.
It looks like the shot's too big for him, you know. I don't think that he's at that stage in his career when he can play for the Rangers or something like that, and I don't think this is going to be the best place for him to develop into that player, ironically, because I don't think A, he's going to get enough opportunities, and B, when he does strike me as quite timid.
Yeah. And then I think also you're saying about Shea Ojo. He has had, not recently, but umpteen opportunities over the first half of the season, and the guy hasn't actually. He started like a house on fire. He was brilliant, but I think he scored once and 3 assists or something since September.
He hasn't kicked his own arse. It's been actually disgraceful, to be honest. When he's been given an opportunity, he just hasn't looked interested. Again, another player that hasn't been able to deal with the pressure.
Well, he did look interested in Braga. That's the first time he looked interested.
It was good when he came off the bench against Braga.
And led the line, and then that informed the decision to bring him on and lead the line against Hearts.
If you remember, was it an offside goal disallowed, I think, against Ross County? And he was good there as well, so maybe that might have turned it. But I think it's too good. I don't think you'll see him much of him in a Rangers shirt between now and the end of the season, and I don't think you'll see him in one after the summer.
That's probably a theme, isn't it? The first guys that you can pick out are all wingers, and all arrived in the summer.
But I mean, I'm picking them out. It's not their fault for the form, like I says. They haven't played, but they're obviously not fancied. So get them out and get replacements in that you think are suitable backups, because he doesn't trust them to drop like a Kent or a Hadji or anyone to take these guys into the team. But I mean, that said, Greg Stewart got an opportunity against Hearts, and he was. I know he was playing up front, but I think he started his career as a striker, and he never took his opportunity.
Yeah.
And then in the team, away from these kind of squad players, there's massive question marks over the leadership of the team as well. When the apparent leaders of the team, Captain James Tavernier and Vice Captain Conor Goldson, keep making high-profile mistakes. And then I don't think these two guys are bad players at all. I think that they're very good players. I think that, but do they have the mentality and the consistency to deliver trophies at Rangers? I mean, you talk about the winners in the team. The people that have won things. Alan McGregor hasn't won anything since the last time he was at Rangers. Neither has Stephen Davis. Is Jimmy
League Cup maybe?
Did he win a League Cup as well?
Or no, I think he got in the League Cup final but lost to United.
What about Jermaine Defoe? Has he ever won it?
League Cup.
League Cup. So
No,
I mean,
no league titles in 20
this
odd
is
years.
this is in order to achieve these things, you need to achieve consistency, and it's like whether or not those two guys in particular, they've come under a barrage of criticism. Which I think when you're in those roles, positioned as the leader of the team, consistently being backed by the manager, etc., then you have to expect a little step up in terms of criticism when things aren't going right, particularly when they're at the centre of it. Yeah. But I don't think that you can blame fans. Some of the stuff's been ridiculous, you know what I mean? Some of the stuff's way over the top, but it's because people are passionate, and also some people are just a bit reckless. But you can't excuse that. But in terms of just general criticism, I think that when you're in them positions, you have to be doing more. And even against Ross County, I thought Connor Coulson looked a little bit shaky and timid at times. And these guys have got to be able to turn the corner. If they're not, then can you blame Rangers fans for wanting those two kind of roles less in position? I mean, as players, I think that they're good players. I just think that there's so much going on at Rangers. Can they handle it? And then
go ahead.
And then we signed them 3 veteran players: McGregor, Davis, and Defoe. He'll be here next season, but Defoe is struggling for fitness, and Davis doesn't look anywhere near like the player we had in the first half of the season.
You maybe question those moves. I think I've said about it before that those were tied down very, very early with no incentive to success necessarily after that. It's not, we'll win something at the end of the season. The two of you will get bumper contracts and you'll stay here. It wasn't like that. It's we'll tie you up as soon as possible in January or beforehand, and then you can sail through the next season. I don't know. I feel like
it's hard to blame Rangers for that because no one foreseen the collapse.
No, well, that's true.
They were playing well.
It's maybe something to learn from in the sides of I think that was a focus on efficiency and being like, right, let's map things out. Let's make sure we know where we are, but. Maybe there needs to be more of a happy medium and that players are striving for stuff.
They were always going to sign, so they could have did it mid-March. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then we look at guys like maybe a Florian Canberra, who is obviously a lone player.
It's interesting. I think that he's looked good in flashes, and I think that there's a good player there. A little bit wasteful at times. Against Hamilton, he maybe should have scored that one that was dragged back. I think the ball wasn't perfect, but I still think he should have been better. There's a good player there.
Yeah, he's a very interesting one, I think, in that we're talking about guys being quality additions to change things. And Braga, for me, he tried very hard and he put a lot into it, but didn't show a lot of quality or a lot of nous in the fact that he was genuinely offside 6-7 times in the first hour of the game. And that's not what you want. He wasn't leading the line well enough, he wasn't holding the ball up, but against St Johnstone, he looked brilliant. Admittedly, the first goal he scored looked like an absolute screamer, and then you look at it in slow-mo, it comes straight off the middle of his shin. How he stuck that in the top corner of the middle of his shin. If I did that, I'd go about 20 metres over the bar. But there's something there that I think is maybe lacking in terms of that next step, in terms of a guy's gonna. Because if you look at his stats with Hibs, he's not prolific. He hadn't done that well before he came to Rangers. He wasn't even getting in their team on a regular basis. So there's something slightly off there. But one of the points that you made at the start, when we talked about the Kenny Miller comments, is that in a nutshell, I think what the problem is that maybe Rangers do need 3 or 4 quality players, and then some guys who are good but not brilliant drop out and go on the bench, and then you have a stronger squad. But I think most people would sort of recognise that Yanis Hadji is quality. Yep. But if Rangers are going to sign him on a permanent deal, it's going to take £5 million, and you can't spend at the minute without players going out. Rangers can't afford to spend $5 million on 4 or 5 more players in the summer. So there needs to be shifts with that week in the team to have enough money to bring quality in. But what we've seen,
we're not going to be able to command the fees that we would have.
But if you look at guys like, there's a common denominator in that, Greg Stewart, like pre-contract, Jordan Jones pre-contract, Jay Casey pre-contract, Brandon Barker free, and they haven't delivered or they haven't been given the chances. These guys aren't that next level that someone like Hadji could bring, but it's going to cost you if you're going to bring them in. So what about your guys?
I think that we would be making a mistake. It's not saying Hadji. He's struggling to adapt to Scottish football. Always happens to players like him, and the style that he has. I think they will come good. I think that, like you say, he's quality option. I think that we'd be making a mistake if we didn't sign Yanis Hadji. I mean, £5 million is a lot of money, but he's going to be worth more than that. I think that's a good investment. Aribo's, like I say, settled over since 2020. It's disappointing because the rest of the team's been poor, and he hasn't been perfect. He's made mistakes as well, but he looks as if he's playing with a little bit more authority, and that's 6 months on from when he signed. So if you sign Hadji, maybe he'll have a good start to next season, you know. And £5 million is a lot of money, but.
And then sort of lastly, probably in terms of guys going, there's obviously going to be interest, maybe not as much as there was before Christmas in certain guys. You're talking Barisic, Kamara and Morelos, 3 guys who have been touted and with big clubs, potentially big money. So how do you see that going?
It's a really hard one. I mean, I don't think Barisic has been great. The entire team's been really poor in this period, so it's difficult to judge it balanced or fairly because how poor we've been. It's almost as if you eradicate the good stuff that happened in the first half of the season, which isn't exactly fair, but it's just the way that football is. It's about the moment that you're in just now. I think it would be a shame to lose Barisic. We signed a new contract, so I don't think there's any intention of selling him, save for, I think Tottenham got linked with a £22 million bid, but I'll take that with a pinch of salt. And Morelos, well, I think Morelos, the player in the first half of the season, is easy worth over 20 million, 20, 25 million. He's a formidable striker, a unique striker, and a very, very talented player when he's playing well. Playing like this, you're talking like Rangers want to sell him in the summer and he doesn't come back up. Oh, it's difficult to see how much money we'd be able to engineer for him. 10 to 15 million pound maybe. You know what I mean?
15 max if it keeps going this way. But again, it's hard. It's hard to tell.
Kamara's a strange one as well because he looked so good, so classy, and he's just looked timid in the shadow of his former self as well.
Okay, so at the minute,
what's interesting as well, all 3 of those guys that you mentioned, and Yanis Hadji as well, he's Romania qualified for that tournament, did they?
For what tournament?
The Euros.
Yes, yeah. And he's also going to the Olympics.
So I mean, all the Rangers have got a kind of plethora of players going to the tournaments in summer. Copa America with Colombia as well.
Are Romania in it?
I'm not exactly sure. Need to double check it. But they're definitely in the Olympics.
Yeah.
And the Morelos could go to Copa America with Colombia. So these are opportunities for the players to maybe reset their form. I don't know. I was talking about the end of the season already, but I don't know is the answer. Should we cash in on these guys? Depends what the money is. But we do need more quality. And the players that are on the fringes of the squad just now are players within the team should be moving out there. And I think maybe it's unfair to say that because the guys haven't contributed as much. But if they're not contributing, it's because if they're not getting opportunities, it's because they're not good enough.